I became a potter in 2001 when I started learning about pottery. In 2016, I had a heart attack that caused me to have a double bypass, and my pottery career ended. Since then, I've had a stroke and a divorce and multiple surgeries on my spine. And this is the first time that I'm really getting back into it. I'm starting to finally heal enough that I feel strong. And this is the beginning of my comeback. Here you see me wetting down the bat to get the clay to adhere better. You're going to see a lot of wobbling with my centering because my muscles have atrophied and I no longer have stability I used to. And I forgot to take off my watch here. So using my left hand, I press up against the wall of the clay, and the right hand is pushing down in order to get the clay to move into the center and create a smooth circular motion. If you don't do this and you don't do it properly, you can get uneven walls, as you'll see later when I trim off the top, because it gets a wobble into it a couple of times. That can have anything to do with pulling up too fast, pulling up too slow, having not wedging the clay properly, which, to be fair, this clay was not wedged at all. It was just craft store clay, just for practice. None of these pieces are going to be fired. They will be carved and decorated to keep that practice. But for now, they're going to be just practice. This clay will be recycled, and I'll just keep doing it over and over again. Eventually, I'm going to get some proper earthenware clay, because right now all I can do is pit fire at my friend's property. So once I get the pit fire built and primitive kiln, pit fire, whatever I decide to do, it's going to give me the opportunity to fire some of these pieces. But I have to use earthenware clay, which is a low fire clay that fires about 1950 degrees. The clay I'm using right now is a mid-fire clay, and it fires at 2350 degrees. Cone 6, if you know cones, cone 04 to 05 is what earthenware fires at. Cones are a mixture of clay and glaze that allow you to see the heat work on pottery, because it's not just about the temperature, it's about the time it soaks in that temperature. So the cones have been specially formulated to bend at certain amount of heat work, which is, again, time and temperature. Here I am, I'm getting the clay ball almost centered. I think I'm about to drop the hole here. Use your thumb to drop the hole. What you saw me doing earlier was called wheel wedging, where you bring it up into a large column and you push it back down a few times usually. Pardon the dog in the background. Him and my cat are playing. So now I've got the hole dropped. I'm smoothing out the floor in the initial stages and bellying out the beginning of the vase to start giving it shape. I know you can't really see what my hands are doing, but as I film more, I'll get better about what angles where people can see what I'm actually doing instead of just seeing my big old mitts in the way. And the skull cap on me is to keep the sweat out of my eyes. You don't want to be wiping your eyes and face when you have clay all over your hands. So I'm pulling up the wall now. I've got it centered, I've got the hole dropped, the floor worked. Now I'm pulling up the walls, pardon me, and I'll get it higher and higher. Here in a minute you'll see me squeeze it in to make the walls thicker, so I have more clay to work with to pull up. And this is a slow process. I used to be quite fast at it, but when you don't practice since 2016, so almost 10 years, 8 years, I've been out of practice. So you tend to get slower, your muscles get weak, and it gets harder. Here you can see the beginning of the wobble where I pulled up unevenly. Now I'm trying to trying to push it in, not only to make the walls a little thicker so I can pull higher, but also so I can kind of straighten out that wobble a little bit. I think I was pretty unsuccessful in this one. I had to cut it off with a needle tool, which you'll see in a bit. Yeah, that wobble's getting terrible. I was very unhappy about that. But again, I didn't have the stability. My elbows weren't locked into my hips like they should be, and I just didn't have the strength. I know I look like a large guy, but my muscles are kind of weak from all the health issues I've had over the years, and I'm slowly trying to get that back, but that takes time. Now I'm seeing that wobble's unrecoverable, so you'll see me looking for my needle tool here in a minute, trying to straighten it out with the rib once again. And in my future videos, I'll clip them and make them short, but I wanted to show the whole process for this one. I know it's 18 minutes long. Look at that wobble. It's horrible. There's the needle tool coming out. And what I do is I just let it rest against the side as the wheel spins. I slow it down so I don't warp it when it breaks away. And eventually that collar will come off. I throw it in the water to be recycled for later. And you'll see what I'm talking about here in just a second. Yeah, see, there's the collar. See, now it's moving evenly again. It wasn't uncentered. It was just pulled up unevenly. This is me smoothing the rim so that it doesn't get a little out of hand. And again, pulling out some of that water from the bottom, because if you leave too much water in the bottom, it will crack when it dries. And then smoothing the rim again, a little bit of a clay booger there, trying to wipe it off. Now I'm pushing the clay back in a little bit, trying to get the form closer to the narrowest point that I want it. If you try and put it too narrow before you get pulled up, you might run the risk of it collapsing if you don't have the wall thickness there. So you want to get it squished in and thickened up so you can pull taller. Pottery is all about patience. It can be a fast process once you're in practice with production throwing, which I used to do. I think my record was like 1,000 pieces in one day. But that was many, many years ago. And I was a lot younger then. Here we go, pulling the wall up some more. I think here in a minute I'm about to start actually forming the shape. You can see me starting to belly out the top just a little bit and bring in that lip, that rim, so that it can start curving in a little bit and doesn't flare out and become a bowl. But the bowl is the easiest shape to make because it just works with the centrifugal force of the wheel, and as you're spinning and pulling up, it just keeps flying, moving out further and further. It's very easy to do. I think my next demo I probably will do a bowl just to show you what I'm talking about. And you can see the top, how the rim is starting to curve in, and below the rim is starting to belly out. When you do the bellying, you put more pressure on the inside, less pressure on the outside, so you can kind of guide it as you push out, and keep it in shape, keep it from getting uneven. Which I didn't 100% successfully do with this. As you'll see at the end, it has a slight wobble still, but a lot of handmade pottery does if you're not careful, because if you don't get it straight here, or if you get it to where it gets out of true and then it dries, or you fix it and it dries, clay has something called memory. It has a memory to it. The platelets of the clay particles create a memory, so you can see the belly now. It creates a memory in the clay, and so when it starts to dry, sometimes that memory will show up and it will warp. It can also warp in the firing when that happens. So you want to be really careful about keeping it as true as possible, because you can't really easily get it back. Now I'm working that lip. I think at this point I was happy with the width of the belly, and now I'm working on that lip. I'm about to. You can see it's got another wobble in it, so I've got to trim it off again and get it flat and even. A little bit of wobble still, but not much. Now here you see I'm starting to turn the lip out, flatten it down a little bit, rolling it out a little bit to give it kind of a finished look. I mean, you can do pots without a lip, and they look good, but this is not the style I was going for this one. I'm using the tool that you just saw me pick up to help shape that area underneath the lip to kind of give it more definition, and slowly pushing down a little bit more and smoothing the rim out with the I think I'm using the sponge here, and you can see a little clay booger on the inside, and I think I never cleaned that up because I didn't notice while I was throwing it. And yes, they're called clay boogers. I know, it's disgusting, but that's what they're called. And here's a prime example of why you should organize your tools before you start throwing. Because I'm sitting here searching for everything. Here I'm trimming off the skirt, which is that little bit of clay you have a hard time pushing in. And I use the tip of this tool to slowly push down. Sometimes you'll see that I've dug in a little bit and kind of didn't go down evenly. So then you'll see another piece of that clay start to shear away as I'm correcting that. There's that extra piece of clay shearing away inside, so you now see two circles there. Well, three if you count the very outside, but get the idea. And now I'm using the needle tool to cut the skirt off. You just kind of lay it flat on the wheel, let the wheel spin, and just let the clay do the work, let the wheel do the work. And you wind up. Once you're done, you just slice it once and it peels right off. You put the clay to be recycled. Now I'm using another tool to further refine the bottom. This is just a trim tool. Generally these are used only at the end for trimming, but I got in the habit years ago that I like the narrow footed pots, so I tend to trim it a little more aggressively than a lot of potters would, except when they're making balls like this. You can see that clay trimming away, and then you always have a little bit of leftovers. You have to kind of do it a couple times, get that clean. It's a slow process. I think we got about 5 more minutes left in the video before it's completely finished. And the pot's almost formed, but right now I'm just doing micro refinements to the base. Here in a minute I'll look for my footing tool, which I didn't really need for this because I'm going to put an actual foot on it, but kind of wanted to practice on that. You can see me looking for it, and it's over to the right, or the left rather, but I just am not seeing it. Again, organize your tools, people. There's an amateur mistake here. Spend more time looking for the tools than I do throwing, seems like, when I do that. This is a special tool that has like a long point on one end with a slight curve. It creates a little rounded foot. Not that I'm going to use it for this pot. It's going to get properly trimmed, but it's good to have that practice because it looks good on like mugs and bowls and stuff that have flat bottoms. You can have a really unique look. And there's several ribs and several rib styles that you can do, or make your own to create more elaborate feet on the pots. Now I'm checking how it's looking, kind of giving a feel for what it looks like. You can see the very slight wobble on that rim as it comes around to the left, counterclockwise. and there's a very slight wobble. I think I may have put a little force on it when I was cleaning out the water from the bottom of the pot. I'm looking for my wire tool now. Again, organize your tools. You cut it off, and I guess I just threw it in the floor. Why I did that, I have no idea. But here, I'm looking for it, You see me stand up, or almost stand up, and then, yeah, found it. So you you wrap the wire in both hands. I don't know what I'm looking for here. I don't remember. What am I looking for? Next video, you're going to see my tools laid out like a surgeon's, because this is stupid. I should not have just threw all my tools down and just started throwing. Oh, I'm using the right now. I was looking for the rib to get the clay slip off the surface, to give it a smoother surface, to get rid of some of the throw lines. And you just move it very slowly, very gingerly, no pressure. It's hard to get underneath that rim, so you use the curved part of the tool, whereas on the body of the pot, you use the flat part. I know you can't see anything here, but again, next time I'll probably set my camera on the other side so you can see my right hand, which does most of the work. My left hand is just basically for stabilization and for centering, but my right hand is the one that does all the work. So further refining it, just kind of making sure it's done and it's completed. I should be looking for this. What am I looking for now? Oh, I'm grabbing the wire tools to cut it off. So you wrap it in both hands. You'll see it wrap it, and it hurts if you're not careful. You press it very firm against the pot. Spin the wheel very slowly, and let the wheel do the work. Let the clay do the work. Let the tool do the work. I try to lift it, but it's still sticky. I could have sponged water underneath there before I did the wire tool, and that would have moved water underneath the pot to make it slide off, but I didn't feel like it. And I'm using the tool here to pry the bat off so I don't warp the pot any further. And now I'm going to rinse all the clay off my hands as best I can, wipe them on my apron, because you don't want clay in your sink. You absolutely do not want clay in your sink. It will clog your pipes, it will clog your drain spouts, especially the U-joint underneath the sink. The clay will just pool down in there and it'll eventually clog it. And if it gets down too far in the lines, it can clog your whole septic system or sewer system. So never pour clay down your drain. Take it outside, let it evaporate, let the water evaporate if you want. Pour the water out on the ground. It's just clay, it's just dirt. Pardon the dog again. And now I'm just getting up to grab the phone, which is why I wash my hands so thoroughly, or rinse my hands so thoroughly so I wouldn't ruin my phone and just show in the pot. And that is the finished, well, it's not finished, it's going to be carved. Probably tomorrow or the next day. I don't know how fast it'll dry here.